Black Panther: Wakanda Forever broke box office records and also stole the Academy's heart, receiving 5 nominations. News Channel reporter Mina Wahab sat with one UCSB professor who lent his expertise as a cultural consultant for the film.
Black Panther: Wakanda Forever is breaking barriers and representing different cultures in cinema. I spoke with UCSB professor Gerardo Aldana, who says the film sheds light on important issues, including the concept of communities of color being pitted against each other and what it means to be an outsider.
Black Panther it's an opportunity for us to all step back and think about our relationships to ethnicity and culture in the United States, but also globally.
Black Panther: Wakanda Forever is the follow-up to the 2018 blockbuster Black Panther. The film follows Queen Ramonda and her fellow Wakandans as they fight to protect their nation from other world powers after the death of King T'Challa, played by the late actor Chadwick Boseman.
Show them who we are.
The sequel introduces a new group of underwater beings called the Talokanil, led by a mutant that Mesoamerican folklore calls Kukulkan.
Kukulkan isn't a specific identity, it is a concept. It's an entity that can move between all 3 cosmological realms.
Both the Wakandans and the Talokanil have a precious resource called vibranium. The rest of the world will do anything to find it, putting both groups at risk. Fears of a future invasion and colonization pits the Talokanil against the Wakandans.
It's not that they're antagonistic towards one another until there's this search for vibranium, which they both have. And that's the same kind of thing we see in Africa and in Latin America today.
Aldana says watching the conflict is jarring, but necessary.
It is challenging as a person of color to sit in the movie and to see, like black on brown violence, right? You're like, why am I experiencing this? Because I know this is part of my everyday world.
He adds that both these groups of people are seen as outsiders by their common enemy, other world powers that want their resources.
When the Talokanil come out of the water, that's when they're blue. But when they go back underwater, they're brown skin, which is their natural skin. That's what it feels like to be an indigenous person outside of their home community, right? People aren't seeing you the way you see yourself, right? They're seeing you with blue skin.
But Aldana says you can argue that being an outsider is a superpower. Leaders like Kukulkan can live underwater and fly, having a bird's eye view on how the world operates.
It can move into the underworld because it's got serpent-like qualities. It can live in this realm with us on the surface, but it can also fly because it's a feathered serpent.
Just like Kukulkan transcends the underwater, earthly, and celestial realms, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever is transcending what an Oscar-worthy movie looks like.
It's more than just a comic book movie.
Fans and critics alike praise this sequel. Many say they finally feel seen.
Black people in the United States, members of the African diaspora, are recognizing parts of themselves when they see Wakanda represented. And Latino people and indigenous people are seeing parts that they can relate to when they see the Talokanil. And so that level of bringing truth into representation and in art, I think, is what makes this film so much more powerful than what you might think it is when you say, oh, it's a Marvel film.
And just like that, Wakanda Forever is living up to its name, making a lasting impact on viewers and the landscape of cinema. In Santa Barbara, I'm News Channel reporter Mina Wahab.